Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Secrets of Social Media Product Placement, with your host, Patrick Sweeney, CEO and founder of dwinQ, a social media product placement company. In this webinar, we're going to talk about the pitfalls of using traditional digital advertising and how you can increase effectiveness and reach with your social media dollars. At the end, we will take your questions. You can type those right into the chat box, and we'll address those at the end. Thank you, and here's Patrick.
Great, thank you, Emily. And thank you all for coming out today. It's a great turnout, and really happy to see so many people interested in social media product placement. It's an interesting challenge that brand marketers have today because it's such an incredible opportunity, yet people aren't doing it right. As Emily had mentioned in the intro, traditional digital marketing just doesn't work. We're going to talk about why, and I'm going to give you the 5 secrets to doing social media product placement correctly and how they can enable you to get the most from your social media marketing dollars. Excuse me. If you look at the challenge that marketers are facing today, it's how to leverage social media. There's 1.5 billion people on social media today. With Facebook alone, there's 1 billion, but then you have Twitter, Pinterest, you have regional social media companies like Renren in China and others in Russia and India as well. And those social media interactions are highly influential for brands. Just looking at this home electronics category here, 71% of people out of this Nielsen-McKinsey survey said they'll be asking for friends' advice via social media before they buy electronics. So the impact and the influence is tremendous. And the numbers are even more impressive for leisure activities and events, from cruise ship recommendations to fun mud runs and the best triathlons for people to sign up. So people are increasingly look for friends and their social networks for advice. Facebook is going to become even more influential in the next year to 24 months, as you'll see in a minute. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there's something really interesting in Facebook development. It's going to have a huge impact on brand marketers. The problem with traditional brand marketing from digital is people have used digital media when buyers were going out with the intent of shopping. So advertising on Google or Amazon or even eBay, people go to those sites very much in the way that you'd go to someplace like Costco or Marks and Spencer. You're going with a buying intent. So it's not surprising nor intrusive to have someone come up to you and give you a sample of the latest phyllo dough wrapped asparagus. Now that's a totally different story when you're out socializing with your friends. When you go out on a Friday night for happy hour, you want to catch up with your friends, see how their week was, find out what they're doing for the weekend. The last thing you want is some person jumping up in front of you when you're in the middle of a conversation, trying to offer you a sample or show you the latest shaving cream or talk about the anti-lock brakes on a new automobile. And the reason is you're at happy hour with the intent of socializing and having fun and catching up with your friends. That's the exact same intent and mindset that people go to social media with. So how do you leverage the tremendous influence of social media against the fact that people don't necessarily want to use traditional ads? Well, people made the mistake initially of doing it by putting ads on the side. And what you can see clearly is that traditional ads don't work. Excuse me. What you're seeing in this photo right here is an eye map of thousands of users looking at a Facebook page. And clearly, all of the activity is in the user stream, the timeline or the news feed. There's very little activity in the ad placement on the right-hand side. So people aren't even really looking at the ads. The other thing that you'll notice is that photographs get the lion's share of the attention as well. So there's 3 key things to take away from this slide here, and one of them is the primary secret to social media product placement, and that is most of the users are viewing activity that's in the stream. So if you want to get your brand notice, you have to do it subtly, but you have to do it in the user news stream or the timeline. This is even more relevant in mobile, where all you see is a shrunken down version of the timeline. So that's critical. The other part to keep in mind is it's even worse than not working. According to the same Nielsen-McKinsey study that we cited earlier, over a third of the people consider ads while they're viewing social media as being intrusive and annoying. So not only do they not work, it's a negative brand connotation. So keep that in mind as you look to do digital marketing. So clearly traditional ads on the right-hand side don't work. That's why Facebook has changed their tact and moved to sponsored stories and sponsored posts, which we'll talk about in just a couple minutes as well. But clearly the first takeaway in terms of secrets of social media product placement is that it has to be in the stream. It has to be where the users can see it and where, more importantly, their friends and family and people they influence can see it. So what does that look like from a practical basis? Well, social media product placement can run the gamut from engaging pictures to cool content that people can't get anyplace else. But the second secret to social media product placement is that pictures have to be unique and what we refer to at dwinQ as unobtainable photos. Excuse me. If you're catching users at the height of their enjoyment, at the height of the engagement, at the most exciting time, then number one, they're going to be genuinely happy and create a moment that's genuinely engaging for their friends and family and their social graph. And number two, that's going to be a very positive brand association for you. So if you look at these three pictures from three different events, the first one on the upper left-hand corner was a great activation we did for Nissan at the Paris Motor Show. We're replicating the same thing, but with a much different twist at the Geneva Motor Show in just a couple weeks. But you can see that what we did with this photo overlay was really cool. We took the Elle magazine cover and we used it as a digital overlay to photos. So the woman in the upper left-hand side isn't actually on the cover of Elle magazine, but it looks like that. And all her friends thought she was on the cover of Elle magazine, and they sent text, and it was engaging, and they said, how'd you do that? Where'd that happen? And it was highly engaging and got a lot of people to see the Nissan Micra, which they had a special L version targeted at women, and it allowed Nissan to also mine data. We'll talk about that in just a second as well. But really cool, engaging photo that's going to stay on the user timeline for an awfully long time, potentially forever, because it happened at a great moment in their life. If you look at the second one down at the bottom, that's from the 2012 Olympics for Cadbury. We're going to talk about the Cadbury case study in a second, but look at the look on the people's faces. They're having a great time. They're doing something really unique. There was a giant video screen in the background of the crowd and the athletic, the track in the background, and then superimposed with a Cadbury logo on the lower left-hand side and the Olympic logo on the lower right-hand side. So really capturing people at an amazing event in a really unique opportunity. The same thing on the upper right-hand side. You've got two fanatic Formula One guys attending a Formula One race with the Red Bull car in the background. Now, a subtle Infinity logo up at the top was posted on their timeline. But these guys, this is the trip of the year for them. They're recording it in a unique way with a great prop in the background, and Infinity's getting the benefit from that highly engaged moment. So keeping those pictures that show the excitement of the moment, that show fans at the height of their enjoyment, is a great way to have a positive brand association. And that's the second rule of social media product placement secrets. So one of the ways to do this is using the dwinQ platform, and a number of people have tried to do this internally and or with their digital agency and really faced a lot of challenges. At dwinQ, we've invested millions of dollars on an architecture that scales to any size event. So we've got some really cool features and functionality that we can enable. But basically, we take social platforms and in the cloud connect them with the events and the people. And we can use anything from RFID chips to mobile phones to QR codes to other really cool technology to identify a person frictionlessly and have them capture the moment at these social events and then post to their Facebook or Twitter or other social media channels. Then for the brands, we can go back in and mine all that tremendously rich data for action. The reason we're able to do this and do this at a very high scale is because we're a Facebook preferred marketing developer. And we have, as I said, invested literally millions and millions of dollars to build this platform. So where other people have had challenges scaling up or being shut down by Facebook, we've got all of those issues solved and very low risk alternatives. So it's something that you can do to be very cutting edge and really get the attention of your CEO or your chief marketing officer. But you can do it with dwinQ, knowing that we've got a very stable platform and we're a very low risk solution. So we also have invested quite a bit in a mobile architecture that's been used from races worldwide to America's Cup events to different auto shows. And you can actually see the consumer version of the app by searching Apple's App Store for dwinQ. It's a revolutionary mobile app. It's really very much like Instagram for events. So it allows people to anticipate the event, sign up and get information for it, experience it in real time, and then go back and have some great memories from the event. One of the most exciting aspects that we have to the dwinQ architecture and the dwinQ architecture in general is the ability for professional photographers to shoot candids at event and capture people in the moment, whether it's climbing over a cargo net or meeting one of the race car drivers, and they can capture that and post it automatically to the user's Facebook page. So that's really a first, but something that professional photographers love and is right now being used by dozens of photographers on ski areas. So our back end is powering Vail Resorts photographers and connection there with a program called Epic Mix. And Epic Mix is something that has 500,000 users that Vail Resorts developed with the help of a couple partners. dwinQ's providing the back-end RFID architecture and data management to do all that at a very high volume and very large scale. So across 7 mountains in the U.S., that award-winning program's been going for a couple of years now, and it's a tremendous program. I had mentioned Cadbury before and the 2012 Olympics. This is on our YouTube site. So if you go to YouTube and you search for dwinQ in social media, you can see about 10 videos that we have up there from different activations, from Formula One to the Olympics to the US Open to Bike Week and everything in between. I wanted to show this because I'd like you to pay attention. We're going to play about 30 seconds of the video, but focus and pay attention on what happens in after the girls come out of the Cadbury house and what they find out on their mobile phone, and then I'll stop the video.
Cadbury's crowd in the background, and then you can hold up a flag and they've got podiums. So we've just done that now. Yeah. And then take your photo and then you swipe it and then it'll go directly onto your Facebook. We've literally just come out and our photos are already on Facebook. Yeah, and got 2 likes.
So that's the crux right there of what happens at an event when we use the dwinQ platform. So that girl in the middle looked at her phone and she was amazed at what they had found and already has 2 likes. And the photos were just uploaded in real time. So this is really an amazing opportunity for brands to catch people at the time of engagement. So what happened from that is the impact of the product placement was tremendous. There were 20,000 people who attended the Cadbury House and signed on for the dwinQ platform. Half of them connected to Facebook. The other half opted to have the photographs sent via email. If you look at what happened from the Facebook perspective with the 10,000 people, they had 676 endorsed impressions. So 676 people saw each one of those posts from each one of those people. That was 3.2 posts. So we had a check-in station, we had the 2 photographs, and then we had a share station at the end. So 7 million endorsed impressions from 10,000 people. It was a tremendous success. And Emily, you see all those questions that are coming up. Can we just cue those?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
So we'll get to your questions in just a second as we run through this. But I wanted to give everybody the return on investment and the value that Cadbury saw from this. If you looked at equivalent advertising on BBC, it was a $2.1 million ad equivalent with less intensity, right? Because of the proliferation of digital video recorders and TiVo and that sort of thing, people tended to be fast forwarding through the Olympic commercials to get to the events. The cost of the actual deployment was under 300,000 euro, so it was a tremendous return on investment. It was about a 10 times multiplier when you look at the value that they added. Now, this was called one of the best social media activations of the entire Olympics. And the entire Cadbury or Mondelez organization was really thrilled about the quality of data that they got back and the level of engagement. So, real big success for Cadbury at the Olympics, and also from a dwinQ perspective. So that's some of the background, a few of the initial secrets. One of the things that I want to spend just a couple minutes on, but from a brand perspective is going to be the most important thing that you can do in the next year or so, is Facebook's new delve into search capability. So just about a month ago, they introduced the graph search. This is important for a couple of reasons. Even if someone has 1,000 friends or 5,000 friends on Facebook, they follow what's called Pareto's rule. And that's commonly known as the 80-20 rule. So if you look at Pareto's rule from that perspective, there's an initial group that you're closest to that you spend about 80% of your time interacting with. It might be your boyfriend, husband, wife, college roommate, but roughly a dozen people make up that 80% of your interaction, that inner circle. The next circle out are people who are important to you, and it's a 15 to 20 additional people. And psychologists refer this as the death circle. So if it's somebody in that circle would die, you'd be personally very much affected by that death. So you've got an inner circle of people you interact with all the time, a secondary circle of people that you care about, and more importantly, you're highly influenced by. So oftentimes in that second circle are what the researchers refer to as your trusted experts. So it may be someone who's a very successful triathlete. It may be someone who does a lot of rock climbing. It might be someone who is a car geek. It could be someone who works in technology. But when you have a question, if you want to buy a new bike and get into triathlons, if you're looking at your next laptop, if you're trying to decide what's the best cruise ship to go on, there's somebody in there who, in that outer circle, would be considered an expert, and you're going to go ask those people. Why is all this important? Well, what's important is those experts are going to start to be, search influencers. And the way they're going to be ranked is what Facebook refers to as the edge rank right now. And we can talk in a lot of detail about this, but it's basically made up of 3 components: the affinity, the weighting of the edge object, and then the time decay, how often people are talking about the same subject and how close the time proximity. The edge rank algorithm is also going to be instrumental in the search algorithm. So what that means is if you can get your brand with those search terms associated and in the user stream, you're going to have the same opportunity that people had initially when Google AdWords came into play. So this is a tremendous action item that you can take in the next year. And the only way that you can optimize graph search is to have people talk about your brand. It doesn't matter how much content you put up on your fan page. It has to do with how much content users are talking about your brand. And so by doing social media product placement, not only are you getting the benefit of the interaction on the photograph and in the user stream, but depending on how you position hyperlinks and text and that sort of thing, you're going to tremendously optimize graph search. So this is a really big differentiator, and that's something that's really important for social media product placement. With all of this information that you get, dwinQ has focused highly on delving into the analytics and the information behind everything that happens. So if you look at some of the data, this is actually data from the Paris Motor Show. I had mentioned that in that photograph, Nissan has a partnership with Elle magazine to produce a limited edition Elle Micra car that you saw on the cover. Well, that's targeted towards young women. So if we take the top two age groups, 13 to 24 and 25 to 44, and we look at the top likes for women in that age group, you can see pretty clearly that Rihanna stands out above most of the things for women. So that means that now we've got a very important data point to go back to Nissan and say, hey, listen, for the next advertisement you do, perhaps putting a Rihanna video or doing some Rihanna music at the next auto show, and that sort of thing is going to really resonate with the target market that you're trying to reach. So we can do top likes by gender, by geography, by people who are married. There's a tremendous amount of correlation between some of the data and how you can present marketing information. And in fact, the most successful marketing from a Facebook perspective is using the user-generated content to create sponsored stories. So if we go back and we look at the 7 million earned impressions from Cadbury at the Olympics, if they were to add sponsored stories on top of that, they could create 12 to 14 million earned impressions. And the sponsored stories are going to be 8 to 10 times more impactful if there's user-generated content. So if it's a picture of somebody you know in that moment, and that's promoted by us through a sponsored story, the brand is going to have tremendous reach. So really valuable, and that's one of the other secrets to Facebook marketing is using user-generated content for the sponsored stories. So, excuse me, with that, we obviously have had a tremendous amount of success with major Fortune 100 brands. The reason being is we're highly focused on scalability and making this as easy for not only end users but also the brands as possible. So from Molson to Facebook directly to others like Nissan and Lexus, we've really been focused. In fact, 90% of dwinQ customers have used us for multiple engagement. So people see a tremendous amount of value and a highly differentiated brand offering, and they come back and they use us again and again. So we're very excited to be part of the Facebook team as a preferred marketing developer partner, and we're really excited to work with some of the brands. So we hope we can add you to that list if it's something you're looking for a smart way to spend your digital marketing dollars and looking for something that's going to get the attention of your chief marketing officer. Before we jump into the questions, let me just recap the 5 secrets to social media product placement that I've mentioned today. Number 1, make sure you get your brand logo in the user stream. So getting it in the stream is number 1. Number 2 is focusing on photographs that capture people at the height of engagement and really enjoying the moment and have your brand associated with that, with those photographs. Number 3, make those photos unobtainable. So this really drives engagement, whether it's standing in front of a cool Formula One racing automobile, or whether it's having a picture with the winner's trophy from the U.S. Open, or whether it's having a cool digital overlay of some rock star or golfer or professional baseball player, so it looks like they're in the picture with you. Make those photos unobtainable and really engaging. Number 4, make sure you use a tremendous amount of data to target the audience you're going after and create engaging campaigns. So mining the data and getting the analytics that happen in the real world, not just what people say, but what you know is happening. And then the last is make sure you use user-generated content and use that information to create sponsored stories that really have some impact. So Emily, I see we've got a bunch of questions. Let's try and be mindful of people's time and take just 3 or 4 of those if we could.
Sure. So we did have some people type in some questions in the chat. I have a question here from Julie. She asked, Cadbury had 700 earned impressions. Could we expect that kind of turnout or outcome at our event?
Well, it's a tough question to answer, Julie. I would say that our average at an event is probably somewhere in around 400 or 500. Cadbury had some great photos. It was at a hugely engaging event. Now that being said, we just did a mud run. We've done 3 mud runs in the past 3 weekends for one of these national mud runs. Actually, the one called Dirty Girl, and they had about 700 earned impressions per photo posted. So if it's a really cool event and it's a really unique photo, I think you can expect above 500 earned impressions, and I know people are paying upwards of $10 or $12 a like to get that same type of impact. So certainly you can do something a lot cheaper, but I would say for planning purposes and a KPI purposes, we've got a pretty good white paper. If you go to our website and download it on KPIs, we talk more about that. So if you want to have a look at that, Julie, I'd suggest that.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Also, we have a question from Andrew. He asks, I understand you do product placement, but how do you actually do it in the real world?
Okay, Andrew, I guess I'm not entirely sure what you mean by the question, but I'm assuming you mean how do we capture the pictures and how do we get the logo on there and that sort of thing. So there's really 2 ways that we do it. We'll have a photo booth that's an indoor-outdoor type of photo booth, and users go up to it and they can use their mobile phone, they can use a VIP card, they can use a keychain that has an RFID tag in it. There's a number of ways that we can create a sign-on for users at social media. Our goal is to take away the friction. So make it as easy as possible to do that. And if they don't have a mobile phone, if they're on the water slide on a cruise ship, then we can do a bracelet, a rubber bracelet that has an RFID tag in it, and they just, as they come down the slide, we can snap a picture of them, and then we can post it up with the cruise ship logo in the corner, and have them see that photo in real time, and their friends see it in real time. The other way we can do it is to give photographers cameras to walk around with and do the same thing. So it doesn't have to be always a fixed camera. It doesn't have to be a photo booth. It can be a photographer or a number of photographers walking around like you'd see now at a Major League Baseball park or like you'd see now on the ski slopes. But instead, with the dwinQ platform, it automatically goes to social media. And in the process, on the back end, we put logos, we overlay a logo onto the photo.
Okay, I think we have time for one last question. Stephen asks, what makes dwinQ different from other social media companies? Which is, I think, a great question because there's a lot of them out there.
There are a lot of social media companies. dwinQ is the first company to do social media product placement. I think what really makes us different is the team we've got here in Cambridge. We've got an incredible team and some very talented people. But really, we're the first ones with a platform that's very scalable and very stable, focused on creating brand champions. So we've got a social media product placement platform that we've spent millions of dollars investing in that can put basically a little advertisement in the user's news feed, the timeline or the news stream for your brand. So it's creating brand champions really without them having to lift a finger. And if you look at a comparison, I just wrote an article that's getting published in about 2 weeks, that Heineken spent $45 million for the product placement in the movie Skyfall. If you look at, they've topped $1 billion in sales, and the average ticket price for a movie is about $8 according to Fandango worldwide. So that puts you at an average cost per impression of about 40 cents. Now that's assuming no one's looking at a half-naked James Bond and the beautiful girl that's next to him, but that they're actually looking at the Heineken bottle. And it was on the screen for about 20 seconds. They're paying 40 cents per impression on that. Contrast that with what you saw from the Cadbury activation. That's about 3.5 cents per impression. So a tremendous value, more than a 10x value improvement by doing that. So that's where social media and product placement becomes so valuable, and dwinQ's the first company to be doing that.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. And we can answer all the rest of the questions. We'll send you an email and get back to you on that information. If you want to get in touch with Patrick, you can email him at patrick@dwinq.com. And Patrick, any last words?
That's about it. But thank you all for joining. And please check our Facebook site, which is dwinQ Social Media, and check out the blog. We add great content a couple times a week, and some interesting research and stats there. So thank you all very much, and look forward to speaking.